A man accused of taking violent revenge against squeegee kids. New today, Fox 45 News questions Mayor Brandon Scott and asks when this squeegee crisis will end. Then the mother of a teen killed by a former BPD officer gives Fox 45 News an exclusive interview. What she's revealing about the case against her estranged husband. A fix being implemented after thousands of college funds were frozen due to technical issues. Why parents who trusted this state agency say the help is coming much too late.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 4.
We're following breaking news as we come on the air, taking you live to Baltimore County, where Perry Hall High School went on lockdown to end the school day. County Councilman David Mark says all students and staff are now safe.
Now, a spokesperson for the school system does say a police investigation near the campus caused that lockdown, but no details were provided. This is a developing story. Stay with Fox 45 News on air and online at foxbaltimore.com for the very latest.
It's definitely getting out of hand.
When the system stops enforcing its own rules, that means that other people are going to continue to take the law into their own hands. And this could have resulted in 3 murders because the city is abetting such a vigilantism by not enforcing basic laws.
Frustration after a Baltimore man is accused of shooting 2 squeegee kids in an apparent revenge shooting. Good afternoon, I'm Kai Jackson.
And I'm Mary Bubala. We are questioning when will the squeegee crisis end and what Mayor Scott is doing about it.
Fox 45's Maxine Stryker joins us live in Baltimore right now. So, Maxine, you tried to question the mayor today. What did you learn?
Well, Kai, we wanted to ask the mayor a series of questions today after a press conference. We were told he would be available to answer them, but he left early and we were never able to ask him the questions in person. Meanwhile, the city has yet to come up with a solution.
It's a crisis decades in the making.
We're working to figure out how to solve something that has been an issue for the city for 4 or 5 decades. And it is quite complex, and that's why all of the brain power in the city is all in one room trying to help fix that.
As city leaders continue to try to solve the squeegee kid problem,
Where's put that big bill, boss?
the incidents keep on coming. According to police, there have been more than 600 squeegee-related calls since July 1st. Just yesterday, we learned about 2 squeegee kids shot in May in what police indicate was a revenge shooting after the suspect, who has been arrested and charged with attempted homicide, said squeegee kids stole from his mother. The man allegedly luring the kids to a home on Edmondson Avenue before firing, striking a 17-year-old in the back of the head and a 23-year-old in the neck. And then there was Timothy Reynolds, who police say was shot and killed by a squeegee kid in July after he got out of his car with a baseball bat to confront a group of them.
Can you arrest them for that, or can you detain them?
Baltimore Police Commissioner Michael Harrison was questioned about the issue on WBAL Radio's C4 and Brian Neiman show this morning.
The answer is quite complex, and it's really, for me, it would be disingenuous to your listeners to answer yes or no. There are quite a bit of First Amendment issues at play there.
While the Supreme Court has ruled that those who solicit donations are constitutionally protected, legal experts say squeegee kids' actions can go far beyond what the Constitution protects.
There are a lot of nuances to that. So there is no just yes or no. And while there are laws on the books, don't forget the way to enforce it has caused the police department problems. And that's what we are working on now with the collaborative, trying to figure out the appropriate constitutional way to enforce it.
Meanwhile, the commissioner and mayor, Brandon Scott, continue to work with the Squeegee Collaborative, which has been active for months now. But the mayor's office says the plan isn't likely to be finished until late fall. We wanted to question the mayor today about the rising tensions among drivers and squeegee kids, but he left a press conference before we were able to. We instead sent the mayor a series of questions, including, with more than 600 calls since the start of the summer related to squeegee kids, are you failing to see there is a problem on these corners for both motorists and these kids? The mayor's office responded, saying in part, I have been very clear that I want to work with business and community leaders, as well as city government, to identify ways to address what has been an issue for as long as I have been alive, adding, we must find pathways for these young people away from soliciting funds on our corners in a way that is constitutional but also sustainable. We also asked the mayor's office, are you letting kids run havoc in the city? The mayor's office responded, saying, we are ensuring that our enforcement is constitutional while also connecting young people with necessary resources such as job preparation, job placement, and family support in cases when individuals have gone beyond expressing free speech and resorted to committing destruction of property or other crimes. We have made arrests, adding, in some instances, they've helped some of these young people land employment. And we asked, if you can't get a handle on the squeegee kids, how can you get a handle on the crime facing the city? The response, unlike any other administration before, we are taking the proper approach to addressing why these young people squeegee. Many of these reasons also can lead young people into a life of crime. There is no such thing as a quick fix when you are dealing with people, poverty, and family dynamics that may force these young people into difficult situations.
Now, we have the mayor's full responses on our website at foxbaltimore.com. We were initially told that that plan from the Squeegee Collaborative would be available in the first few weeks of October, but now it seems it may take a little longer until the end of fall to see that plan. Reporting live in Baltimore, Maxine Stryker, Fox 45 News.
Maxine, thank you. Earlier this year, a Fox 45 News employee became the victim of a Squeegee Kid Cash App theft. He says Squeegee Kids used his phone to send themselves hundreds of dollars. When the Baltimore City Council addressed these thefts during a hearing, some put the responsibility on drivers.
Obviously, we've heard about the cash apps, that people have gotten, large amounts taken out of Cash App, and to those people who hand people their phones, don't do that, right? Like, don't hand somebody your phone.
This is press city leaders on the Squeegee Kid problem. Many acknowledge it's dangerous for drivers and Squeegee kids.
I believe this activity is unsafe, unhealthy, and beneath the greatness and dignity of our young people.
It is not safe for anyone in that scenario. It is not safe for the people engaged in the squeegee activity. It's not safe for the motorists. It's not safe for nearby pedestrians. It's not safe for anyone.
It's also unsafe for these young people to be out there. It's just plain and simple unsafe.
Now, 2 Republican candidates for office are weighing in as well. Nicole Ambrose and Eurypsy Morgan, Republicans running for the 2nd and 3rd congressional districts, respectively, spoke with Fox 45 News today.
The city has created a situation in which you have squeegee kids on the corners, you have police officers who are watching them. We have created a sense of lawlessness in this city. When you tell people it's okay to break the law, when you tell people that you're going to defend them as they break the law, guess what they're more inclined to do? To break the law. It's our job as adults in the room to make sure that we don't put them in an environment that is unsafe. For the city of Baltimore to allow so many young people to do this is completely, it's ridiculous, it's asinine.
I think the root cause of all of this is people see no hope. The intersection of where all the squeegee activities happening is, for the most part, right across from the police station in downtown Baltimore City. I think it's in everyone's best interest that police encourage the kids to go do more productive things.
Well, laws are in place to keep squeegee kids off the streets, but Mayor Scott is not enforcing them. One law states a person can't stand in a roadway to solicit a ride, employment, or business from a driver. Another statute targets aggressive soliciting, like blocking a driver, obscene language, or intimidation. And despite those laws, Mayor Scott says he won't be clearing squeegee kids off the corners. That has led some to question whether he's defying his oath of office.
And that I will be faithful.
And bear true allegiance.
And bear true allegiance.
To the state of Maryland.
To the state of Maryland.
And support the Constitution.
And support the Constitution.
And laws thereof.
And laws thereof.
Well, the presumptive next city state's attorney, Ivan Bates, has promised to use the laws on the books to prosecute squeegee kids after intervention efforts. However, former city prosecutor Jeremy Eldridge says there's not much Bates would be able to do if the mayor doesn't support him.
He can't do it unless the police department actually issues citations. If the police department does not want to issue citations at the order of the mayor, then it doesn't matter what the state's attorney wants to do, because 2 + 2 won't equal 4.
And that brings us to our question of the day. Do you trust Mayor Scott to get the squeegee situation under control? So far, 100% of those who voted say no. We still want to hear from all of you. Share your opinion by going to foxbaltimore.com/vote. We'll check back in on these results throughout the night. And now an education alert. Rolling out this week a temporary fix for Maryland 529 account holders unable to unlock their funds. As we've been reporting for more than a month now, thousands of college funds remain frozen as the state agency grapples with some technical difficulties. Fox 45's Rebecca Pryor has more on the new short-term solutions and why some parents are still not satisfied. This is such a serious issue for parents who are trying to pay their tuition bills, Rebecca.
Yes, it is, Mary. And after months and months of questions from parents, this is the answer that Maryland 529 has come up with. It is a support form that account holders can fill out and hopefully get some assistance sooner. However, parents that I spoke with, they say it might seem like a step in the right direction, but they're just not convinced that this is really going to be the fix they need.
We need help now. We need clear answers.
With tuition now past due and a FAFSA deadline quickly approaching.
We're talking about, tens of thousands of dollars in some cases that need to be covered.
The wait is still not over for about 30,000 frustrated Maryland families being denied full access to their children's college funds.
We will try to prioritize the most urgent cases.
At a town hall last week, Maryland 529 only offering a temporary fix to the calculation error that surfaced late last year. They say these support forms found on their website will spearhead solutions for those who need help now.
Completing and submitting this form is the best way to trigger an individual account review.
This account support form is a helpful development if it's used as intended, but there are just still too many uncertainties.
Brian Savohi is an account holder behind the Free Our Interest Now Maryland 529 Facebook page. In a matter of weeks, it's gathered over 80 followers. He says parents no longer trust the state agency or this form.
Regardless of need, we don't know when Maryland 529 is going to come back to us. They haven't provided any type of timeline.
So far, he hasn't heard of any accounts being serviced since the support form rolled out. This despite $1 million worth of consulting fees recently being allocated to the issue.
They've had auditors working on this for 6 months down at Intuition. Why do they need more money to manage this issue and problem? It's just, in my mind, it looks like, all the hallmarks of government waste.
Still no long-term solutions in sight. Maryland 529 is only promising another update for account holders at the end of this month. Reporting live in Baltimore, Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
Rebecca, thank you. A former Baltimore City police officer is convicted of killing his stepson. Now the mother of that teen is speaking. 15-year-old Dasan Jones was found dead inside the Anne Arundel County home of Eric Banks in July of 2021. This week, the former officer entered an Alford plea in that case. Alexa Ashwell is live right now with what this means and the mother's reaction. Alexa?
Okay, this essentially means Eric Banks is not admitting guilt, but acknowledging the jury likely has enough information to find him guilty. I spoke with Dasan's mother on Zoom earlier today. In her words, she says this is him taking the easy way out. Take a listen.
To me, it doesn't say I did it, but it says there's enough evidence to say I did it. So, let's just say you did it then. Instead. So I still have those feelings that, no, I'm not happy with it.
Latrice Banks recalling that day back in July 2021. She had just left court for a hearing for another protective order against Banks. The two, she said, had been having marital issues. Hours later, Latrice says she called police to Banks' home after she was unable to get a hold of her 15-year-old son. Officers found the teen's body in a crawl space, a medical examiner detailing he had died of asphyxiation. Latrice haunted by the missing pieces as to exactly what happened.
And Alexa, what's next with this case? What's going to happen?
Okay, in terms of what's next, he will be sentenced. Banks is facing up to 50 years in prison. When that sentencing will occur, and more from this mother, I'll have that coming up at 5:30. For now, reporting live in Baltimore, Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
All right, Alexa, thank you. Coming up on Fox 45 News at 4 o'clock, former and current CIA officers reportedly frustrated with the investigation into Havana syndrome, how long the disease has been around, and what's been done over the course of the investigation.
Plus, details on the toll long COVID is taking on Americans and the limitations it's causing them.
Fox 45 News, winner of 17 2022 Regional Emmy Awards, more than all other Baltimore news stations combined.
Paying at the pump, we are watching the price of gas increase. The national average is $3.87 a gallon, and several states are already seeing prices hit $6 a gallon. Now, here in Maryland, the price is up to $3.57 a gallon. That's 7 cents higher than just yesterday. Well, now Americans are bracing for a possible price jump after OPEC, that's the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, said that it would cut production by 2 million barrels a day. This comes after President Biden asked OPEC in July to increase production. Analysts worry that OPEC lowering production could help oil-producing Russia fund its war against Ukraine.
Well, in an effort to make up the difference, President Biden may be looking for oil from what industry experts call one of the world's dirtiest oil producers. The Wall Street Journal reports the White House may lower sanctions on Venezuela so Chevron can resume oil operations there. Apparently, these talks have been ongoing since at least March. And the Biden administration appeared to backtrack on tapping into the United States emergency petroleum supply, saying they will not release more crude to calm the market after doing so over the summer.
The decision to tap into the reserves was not one that the president took lightly. What he's also trying to do is to do everything he can domestically here to keep the price of gasoline at the pump going down.
However, one day later, the White House released this statement saying, in part, at the president's direction, the Department of Energy will deliver another 10 million barrels from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve to the market next month, continuing the historic releases the president ordered in March.
Well, now 15 House Republicans are calling on the Department of the Interior to conduct more federal oil and gas lease sales. Lawmakers argue the Interior Department is disregarding the law by failing to hold auctions for leases every quarter after the president placed a moratorium on leases in January. A new analysis finds President Biden's energy policies are costing Americans. Under President Trump, the United States produced between 2 and 3 million barrels of oil a day. The study now found that's down 1 to 1.5 million barrels and costing the U.S. economy roughly $100 billion a year. Some argue the pandemic is causing low raw crude prices had more to do with the cuts in production than policy had.
Well, if I had a voice, a singing voice, I would sing Walking on Sunshine.
Yes, that would be the perfect song.
How giddy were we all today?
Oh my gosh, it's amazing.
And you look beautiful
Amy
in your
has the
yellow.
appropriate color.
I mean,
So
you
perfect.
inspired me yesterday with yours, and now the sun is back out. Figured it was appropriate, but yeah, not only is the sun back, it feels amazing.
It feels
out.
great up there.
It's
Yeah.
warm.
It does.
Really warm.
Right.
Yeah, almost a little, dare I say, too warm for this time of year. It was close to 80 degrees. No, we'll take it while it lasts, right? It's really warm outside right now, but I do want to bring up something that's maybe not as positive or not as bright and sunny, and that's
Okay.
because we're losing daylight with each passing day a couple of minutes at
kinda
this
sad.
point. Yeah, it is kind of sad. This evening, for example, sunset's even earlier. So I have it all broken down for you here on this graph for the next couple of weeks. So for today, example, for this evening, we've got sunset coming up at 6:41 p.m. In just 1 week, it's at 6:30. In 2 weeks, 6:20. And then in only 3 weeks, it's getting close to that 6 o'clock mark. And remember, we fall back November 6th. And at that point, the sun is going to set just before 5 o'clock. But one good piece of information that comes with less daylight is that we'll start to see more and more of the pretty fall colors. Now, I have seen a little pop of colors on my trees, but right now, locally, still no change being reported. You've got to travel a little more to the west, and that's where we are starting to see some patchy fall colors showing up on the trees. But as we lose daylight and as our temperatures cool, I think we'll see more and more of that happening. Right now, we are just enjoying the sunshine. After 6 days of rain, blue skies are back, along with some nice warm temperatures. Most spots now are enjoying the 70s, low to mid 70s, close to 80 degrees at BWI right now. So nice and warm to wrap up your Thursday. And it's going to stay this way tomorrow, too. If you didn't have a chance to soak up the sunshine today, you've got one more opportunity to get some vitamin D. High pressure still drifting in from the south here, pumping in that nice mild air. Before this gets here, this is our next weather maker, that cold front. That's going to actually be cutting through tomorrow. Fortunately, you're not going to notice it. It's not going to bring us any rain, but look at what's popping up behind it. See that blue and that purple? Yeah, that's some freeze and some frost concerns there. And eventually we'll see that sort of thing by Saturday morning. But first, for tonight, temperatures will be cooling back into the upper 50s overnight, low 60s. Tomorrow morning is cool to begin, but tomorrow afternoon's another nice warm one with temperatures getting into the mid and upper 70s again. See these clouds? That's that cold front cutting through tomorrow evening and late Friday night. Behind that, a big drop in temperatures. By Saturday morning, we're dipping into the mid-30s if you're in Carroll County. The rest of us dipping into the low and mid-40s, but we could see a little bit of frost as we kick off the weekend. And then it's much cooler on Saturday. It's breezy with high temperatures stuck back in the upper 50s and low 60s, but at least the sunshine is here to stay. Tonight, great night to hang by the fire pit. It's going to be nice and warm out there if you want to do that. Temperatures cooling back into the low 60s. Tomorrow looks like a great day to get the pumpkin if you haven't done that just yet. Lots of sunshine, highs in the very warm mid-70s. Much cooler this weekend for all your fall activities. Cooler and breezy on Saturday, staying that way through Sunday. Early next week, the sunshine is here to stay with our next opportunity for rain holding off until Thursday. Mary?
Amy, thank you. The Federal Reserve relentless on the path to put an end to inflation. A move likely caused from a slower job market. We'll tell you the signs and how it will affect your financial decisions. President Biden's approval rating quickly moving forward since August. How independents are playing a larger role in that. Well, CNN is reporting dozens of former and current CIA officers are frustrated with the investigation into Havana syndrome. They reportedly have gone to House and Senate Intelligence Committees over the past year because they think the CIA task force hasn't done enough to find answers. Havana syndrome was first noticed about 6 years ago when U.S. government workers in Cuba started reporting dizziness and extreme headaches consistent with head trauma. Since then, U.S. personnel stationed around the world say they've had similar symptoms. Well, long COVID is still limiting day-to-day activities for millions of Americans. According to new CDC data, more than 1 in 4 adults with long COVID reported significant limitations to their daily routines. Nearly 30% of adults who got COVID report having long COVID at some point. Out of the 24 million Americans who currently have long COVID, more than 80% still have trouble carrying out daily activities. Symptoms can be shortness of breath, difficulty concentrating, brain fog, and chronic fatigue. A consumer alert now. Tomorrow's jobs report is expected to be a big one for the feds. That's because the Federal Reserve is dead set on stamping out inflation through higher interest rates. Such actions are designed to bring down demand, a move likely resulting in the job market slowing down. Back in August, Fed Chair Jerome Powell laid out the plans.
We must keep at it until the job is done. History shows that the employment costs of bringing down inflation are likely to increase with delay as high inflation becomes more entrenched in wage and price setting.
Well, there are signs the job market is cooling. According to the Labor Department, Americans filing for first-time unemployment benefits rose more than expected last week. Central banks around the world follow the Fed's lead, often meaning difficult economic situations for countries with weaker currencies. With a majority of Maryland voters supporting recreational marijuana, how can the state cash in if it does become legal? We examine the options. Plus, a state investigation finds city schools violated the rights of multiple students after families came to Project Baltimore seeking change.
Well, the campaign for Democratic gubernatorial candidate Wes Moore says he's paid the outstanding $21,000 water bill for his Baltimore home.
But is it possible this is just another example of an out-of-control water bill in the city? Fox 45's Amy Simpson joins us live as she's taking a closer look at what's going on here. Amy?
Yeah, it's a tale we've heard time and time again in this city. Baltimore residents opening those water bills to see that they're in the thousands or tens of thousands. And even Wes Moore's campaign is questioning whether that bill is accurate. The campaign sending a statement to us here at Fox 45 saying the Moores have paid the current balance out of an abundance of caution while they review the accuracy of the charges. Now take a look at the house that allegedly racked up that $21,000 bill. It's located in the city's Guilford neighborhood. Real estate listings describe it as an 8,600 square foot 6-bed, 7-bath property, and a video online gives a bird's eye view of a pool and a patio in the backyard. City records show that the property's water bill went unpaid for nearly a year and a half, racking up that outstanding balance of $21,200. Broken down across 17 months, that's an average of more than $1,200 in monthly water usage. But our political analyst questions who's responsible for that exorbitant bill.
My gut tells me most of this is on the Baltimore City Water Authority, and I think that they're the ones who need to answer some questions about how does someone rake in a bill this high?
So, Amy, how is the city's Department of Public Works responding to all of this?
Well, today we sent them some questions. We have some important things we'd like to ask. At what point does DPW take action against delinquent bills? Were any delinquent notices sent to Moore's address? And is DPW investigating the accuracy of the meter and billing for his home? It's been about 6 hours now since I sent those questions, and none of them have been answered by DPW. Reporting live tonight, Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
Amy, thank you. Well, a Washington Post University of Maryland poll finds Moore holds a 32 percentage point lead over his opponent, Dan Cox. According to this poll, 22% of Republicans would vote for Moore, a Democrat, come November. Now, Maryland voters will also decide whether they want to legalize recreational marijuana. That poll shows the measure is likely to pass, with 73% of Maryland voters saying they're in favor of it. A whopping 87% of voters under 40 favor it as well. Now, if voters decide to approve that ballot measure, Maryland could be in for a major windfall from the tax revenue legal cannabis could create. Megan Gillen speaks with a taxpayer protection watchdog about both the potential benefits and the downsides.
In addition to the national, state, and local races that will be decided November 8th, there are also several amendments and local ballot initiatives to be aware of. Over the next few weeks, we are examining these and what they mean for you. And we're beginning with the amendment that would legalize the possession and use of marijuana. David Williams with the Taxpayers Protection Alliance shining a light on what this would do.
What this amendment would do is make it legal for personal use, to possession and personal use. It's 1.5 ounces, so nothing crazy. You have to be 21 years or older to possess it and to use it. And really, the next step is that this would really, if it passes, it would become legal really July 1st, because the state legislature, they actually passed legislation that implements the regulating structure, the taxes, and just the foundation of what's happening once it's legal.
That's what I was going to ask you, what this means for the state when it comes to money, to revenue, taxes possibly.
Yeah, so the marijuana moolah, we've seen this in other states where Colorado, about the same population, brings in about $400 million a year in revenue. And then you look at Washington, same population, about $550 million. So, Megan, this is going to be a lot of money for the state of Maryland.
Financially, it sounds great. Is there a downside?
Again, it's marijuana, and there's still people that just don't like to use drugs, and that's fine. And in some states they have seen some increase in DUIs of people that have been smoking marijuana, some law enforcement issues. But I think all in all, when you bring something out into the legal aspect of it, it gets rid of the cartels, it gets rid of the underground aspect of this.
Right now in the state of Maryland, marijuana is legal for medical use, but not personal use. However, possession of 10 grams or less is decriminalized. I'm Megan Gillen, Fox 45 News.
This just into our newsroom. President Joe Biden is pardoning thousands of Americans convicted of simple possession of marijuana. The president says federal charging practices have disproportionately affected people of color. He is also calling on governors to follow his lead.
Baltimore City schools under fire from the state after violating the rights of multiple students.
As Project Baltimore's Chris Papps explains, critics accuse city leadership of looking the other way.
Egregious, disgusting.
Brittany Patrick is an education advocate for students with disabilities.
How can you allow this to happen to a child? That's my question. Oftentimes as educators, we talk about these terms of equity and justice and access.
Starting in May, Patrick watched as Project Baltimore told, one by one, the stories of these 4 Baltimore City students. Each one filed a disability complaint with the state because the city school system did not provide the services they needed to learn. The Maryland State Department of Education investigated and found city schools violated the federal education rights of each student.
Education is a civil right, and access to a free and appropriate public education is especially necessary when we're talking about students with disabilities.
Patrick is now representing these 4 families pro bono. She's helping them navigate the legal maze of special education, which is large and complicated. Last school year, city school special education budget was $207 million. $207 million federal, state, and local dollars to provide the services required by law to students with disabilities. And we know at least 4 who did not receive them.
It's a huge deal that can't be ignored.
But many would say the problem is being ignored, along with other issues in the school system. Last Wednesday, Project Baltimore reached out to city schools concerning these families. Here are the emails and text messages from the district saying a response was coming, but we received nothing. And then there's this.
Thank you for joining us for this very special moment today.
In July, Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott and Senate President Bill Ferguson, who represents Baltimore City, held a surprise press conference to celebrate the accomplishments of City School CEO Dr. Sonia Santelises. At the time, the school system was caught up in multiple scandals. Weeks before this event, the State Inspector General for Education released a damning report on grade changing in city schools. The governor and other public officials were calling for a criminal investigation into possible fraud. The House GOP delegation was calling for Dr. Santelises to resign. And FOX45 had already begun telling the stories of these students.
On behalf of the people of Baltimore, I commend you for your continuing commitment to the education and development of our young people. Signed by myself, Mayor Brandon Scott.
What really matters when you look across the country, stability is what matters.
3 months later, Senator Ferguson's office won't return our calls or emails about what happened to these students. Mayor Brandon Scott sent us this short email saying he has faith in the city schools administration. The mayor's statement mentioned new schools and funding, but he says nothing about what happened to Ebony Frisbee's son, Shy.
If what you're saying as a mayor, like they're their own thing, everything is fine and they got it, then I should not have to go through this process.
Shy missed 96 straight days of school because the district did not provide him with the services he was required to have. The state found his federal education rights were violated.
Us people are the reason why this city is still here. I pay taxes in this city. So for me and my son to live here and thrive, we can't do that if the people that's in charge of this city isn't doing their part, and he's not.
It's disappointing if we're celebrating when we have so many children and families that we know are crying out for simple access to education via their individualized education plans. What is there to celebrate?
Yeah, you got the last laugh on this one. This was good. Thank you, everybody.
I'm Chris Pabst, and this is Project Baltimore.
If you're the parent of a child with disabilities who's not receiving the education they deserve, Project Baltimore wants to hear from you. Call the hotline, send them an email, or follow our progress on social media.
New tonight, a report on the efforts to clear pollution in Baltimore's Inner Harbor. The Waterfront Partnership of Baltimore releases new data on the progress in making the Inner Harbor swimmable and fishable again. Organizers say that report shows a positive trend towards that goal. The report card this year reports lower bacteria in the water and a significant reduction in sewage overflows.
Problems are being fixed and the water is getting cleaner. And it's still time. It's time for us to embrace the harbor as a recreational resource.
Waterfront Partnership says a statewide ban on foam containers has also led to a big reduction of trash in the harbor picked up by the trash wheels. While most of the report card showed positive trends, sections of the waterfront still scored low on bacteria safety for humans, and progress on improving pollution was set back by issues at the Patapsco wastewater treatment plant. City leaders say redistricting police precincts will help curb crime, while one law enforcement expert says there are bigger problems to worry about.
The FBI releases its annual crime rate statistics report. Murders on the rise. I'm Kayla Gaskins with that story straight ahead.
Making headlines right now, new numbers from the FBI show murder rates in the United States remain well below pre-pandemic levels. National correspondent Kayla Gaskins has more on what law enforcement is saying about the surge.
2020 saw the biggest jump in murder rates since the start of national record keeping back in 1960, a 30% increase. Now that 2021 numbers look the same, even higher, law enforcement experts say it signals a steady elevation in murder rather than a one-off year. A New York man shot and killed in a hotel lobby while visiting his son at Marist College over the weekend. The tragedy making headlines.
Both suspects arrested at the scene, and of course, both had lengthy rap sheets.
On Wednesday, a Purdue University student found dead in his dorm room. His roommate arrested and charged with murder.
There are certainly many more homicides occurring now than there were before. I mean, the data supports that.
Homicides up 4.3% nationwide, according to new numbers released Wednesday by the FBI. Violent crime down slightly overall, but remains notably higher than 2019.
And I just don't feel safe. It's not the Seattle I've known in the past.
It's not the same Portland that I remember. It's scary. I mean, it's scary to be here trying to raise kids.
The FBI's report has some gaps. Thanks to a new reporting system, big cities, including New York and LA, did not submit data, leaving FBI analysts to fill in the blanks with estimates. Jason Johnson, president of the Law Enforcement Legal Defense Fund, attributes the rise in murders to a twofold phenomenon: the lack of support for police and the rise of soft-on-crime progressive district attorneys.
You're seeing more instances in which it seems pretty obvious that the perpetrator should have been detained pending some other charge or should have been incarcerated because of some other previous conviction. But because of this shift toward a progressive orientation, a lot of these folks are out and perhaps shouldn't be out and are still engaged in criminal activity.
These crime numbers from President Biden's first year in office come as recent polling shows crime remains a top issue for voters heading into the midterm elections this November, an issue that traditionally helps Republicans. I'm Kayla Gaskins reporting.
In Baltimore, murders this year trail last year slightly. There have been 258 homicides this year compared to 260 last year. There have been more shootings in which people survived this year, 564 compared to 548 last year. For the first time in more than 6 decades, the Baltimore City Police Department has redrawn district maps. City leaders say this will help police respond to crime more efficiently, also providing officer workload balance for each district and optimize resource allocation. Former Chief of Police Ed Norris, or former Commissioner Ed Norris, says while this would be a good idea in the long run, there are bigger issues to deal with.
Frankly, I don't know why this was necessary right now when you got such a terrible crime problem on hand. And I don't know how this helps your crime fighting ability, because a lot has to go into this, including change the 911 system. You've got to change a lot of different things, your reporting system, your relationship with the community now. And this, I think, it's really important to have a good relationship with the community leaders at a time when things are really bad like now. And now you're going to have people who aren't familiar with each other. I just don't know if this was the right time. Not saying it wasn't necessary. I just don't know if it needed to be now.
4:48 on this Thursday, and the sun is finally back along with the warmer temperatures. We're currently enjoying the low 70s in most spots, actually close to 80 in Baltimore right now. Feels fantastic. These numbers are well above where we were at yesterday, actually by about 15 degrees in most spots. That's how much warmer it is from 24 hours ago. And we've also got the sunshine looking very pretty down at the Inner Harbor currently. Blue skies, sunshine, temperatures in the upper 70s. A warm couple of days ahead of us before a cold front actually pushes through tomorrow, and that's going to bring us some cooler temperatures again just in time for the weekend. But we will squeeze in one more really warm day tomorrow with highs headed for the upper 70s. And this is that next cold front, our next weather maker. That's what's going to be sliding in from the west as we head throughout the day tomorrow. There's not much rain, not much moisture showing up along it, and that's going to continue to be the case even as it pushes through Maryland tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow evening. That means the only way we're going to notice this front coming through is the shift in temperatures behind it. In advance of it, southerly winds will bring in some warm temperatures again tomorrow, but behind this front, we're going to notice a few passing clouds and then some cooler temperatures as that air comes back in from the north. And over the weekend, it's going to be noticeably cooler, especially Saturday morning. But first, we'll squeeze in one more nice warm 70-degree plus day. We're actually headed into the mid-70s tomorrow. Over the weekend, a big drop. Saturday morning, we start off in the 40s, and then our temperatures will actually stay stuck in the upper 50s to near 60 during the afternoon with a nice brisk breeze. And if you're wondering, are temperatures going to stay warmer or cooler? According to the Climate Prediction Center, there's actually a decent chance in our 8 to 14-day temperature outlook that we are tracking below normal temperatures. And this outlook takes us actually all the way through mid-October. October 19th. Now, in the short term, we've got a nice, healthy mix. It's going to be warm tomorrow, but after that, a quick cool down for the weekend. Cool and breezy on Saturday, mid-60s on Sunday. Sunday night for the Ravens game. Going to get chilly out there with temperatures dipping into the 40s at M&T Bank Stadium. But temperatures will start to warm again next week. Upper 60s Monday, low 70s Tuesday and Wednesday, before a new weather maker moves in by week's end, setting us our next real opportunity for some rain next Thursday. Kai?
Amy, thank you. Coming up on Fox 45 News at 5 o'clock, still no solution at this time. Fox 45 presses city leaders on what they're doing about the squeegee kid issue after an extreme act of violence.
A new warning today about a potential winter surge with a new variant. I'm Liz Bonis. We share what you need to know to protect against it. It is just ahead.
On the path forward, don't put your mask away just yet, medical experts say. Medical reporter Liz Bonis shares why there are new concerns that a winter surge of COVID-19 cases has started.
Hey there, everybody. We are talking about this today because the nation's top doctor now already predicting a new COVID variant could lead to yet another winter surge of illness.
Even though BA.5 is still the variant that is the one that's dominant, you have the creeping up of variants that are sublineages like BA4.6.
And those sublineages have the potential to make us sick. It's all because they are new. Even with vaccines and previous infections, we have limited immunity to them. Dr. Anthony Fauci issuing a warning in a conversation with USC Annenberg Center for Health Journalism. He says with international travel, it is only a matter of time before another new variant is also likely to become widespread.
We don't have much of BA2.75.2 yet, but there are other countries that do have that.
This warning comes at a time where even though you may have heard the pandemic is over,
the number of deaths is still 300 to 500 a day in the United States, so definitely the pandemic is not over.
Infectious disease specialist Dr. Stephen Blatt of Ohio's TriHealth says a winter surge could really stress hospitals already near capacity with non-COVID related illnesses nationwide. The only way to stop the potential surge is for more of us to step up and get the new bivalent booster.
All the new strains are different strains of Omicron variant, and the new bivalent vaccine contains the Omicron variant.
As for what a winter surge could mean for all of us when it comes to wearing masks once again, Dr. Fauci says with current CDC guidance not expected to change ahead of an expected winter surge,
it's entirely conceivable that we will see enough of an uptick that is possible, that will be required.
one other reason for protection, reducing long COVID risk. As many as 1 in 3 of us now, even with mild infections, say that we have everything from heart rhythm problems to unrelenting fatigue 3 to 6 months after infection. I'm medical reporter Liz Bonus. Now back to you.
Coming up on Fox 45 News at 5 o'clock, a new method the city is attempting to help curb the violence. One former commissioner, weighs in. And thousands of Marylanders' college funds frozen despite a temporary fix. Fox 45 News investigates where things stand as many worry where the next payment will come from. Good evening, I'm Kai Jackson.
And I'm Mary Bubala. Tonight at 5, as squeegee kids remain in Baltimore intersections, a man is accused of taking violent revenge against several of them. Fox 45 News is questioning the mayor tonight.
As Fox 45 News investigates safe streets and hold leaders accountable, leaders in Baltimore remain silent about some of the biggest questions we have.
Plus, an attempt to help thousands of families whose college savings are being cut off, the continued struggle surrounding Maryland's 529 plan.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 5.
We continue to follow the breaking news about Perry Hall High School in Baltimore County. It went on lockdown at the end of the school day today. County police say officers had to break up a fight behind the school, and that led to the lockdown.
A spokesperson for the department says all students have been dismissed. Now, one student was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Stay with Fox 45 News on air and online at foxbaltimore.com for the latest. We continue to question Baltimore City leaders tonight, asking if they have any plans to end the squeegee crisis.
This as we learn a Baltimore man is accused of shooting 2 squeegee kids in an apparent case of revenge. Police tell us it happened in May after a group of squeegee kids is accused of stealing money from the suspect's mother through a Cash App scam. Now, we have team coverage tonight. Keith Daniels is at a public safety meeting asking city council members what can be done to get the squeegee kids off the streets.
First, Fox 45's Maxine Stryker is questioning Mayor Brandon Scott on what he's doing to stop the violence. Maxine, you tried to question the mayor today. Did you get any answers?
Well, Kai, we did get some answers from him, but not directly in person. Meanwhile, the city has yet to come up with a solution, and the incidents, they keep on happening. Just yesterday, as you mentioned, we learned about those 2 squeegee kids shot in May in what police indicate was a revenge shooting. Baltimore Police Commissioner Michael Harrison was questioned about the issue on WBAL Radio C4 and Brian Neiman show this morning. He was asked why the kids can't just be arrested.
The answer is quite complex, and it's really for me it would be disingenuous to your listeners to answer yes or no. There are quite a bit of First Amendment issues at play there. There are a lot of nuances to that, so there is no just yes or no. And while there are laws on the books, don't forget the way to enforce it has caused the police department problems, and that's what we are working on now with the collaborative, trying to figure out the appropriate constitutional way to enforce it.
Well, the commissioner talking about the collaborative there, that's the Squeegee Collaborative, which has been active for several months now, but they still have not put a plan out. Kai?
So, Maxine, Commissioner Michael Harrison saying arresting is complicated. What's the mayor saying about all this?
So we did want to ask the mayor several questions in person today at a press conference. We were told he would speak with us after, but he left before that press conference ended, and we were unable to talk with him in person. So we emailed him our questions, including with more than 600 calls since the start of the summer related to squeegee kids. Are you failing to see there's a problem on corners? And if you can't get a handle on this, how can you handle the crime facing the city? The mayor sending back a very lengthy statement answering all of our questions, saying in part he's been very clear that he wants to work with business and community leaders as well as city government to identify ways to address what has been an issue for as long as he's been alive, adding they're ensuring that enforcement is constitutional while also connecting these young people with their necessary resources, whether that's job or family support, and says in cases when individuals have gone beyond expressing free speech and resorted to committing destruction of property or other crimes, then they will make arrests, which we've seen. The mayor also says, unlike any other administration before, they're taking the proper approach to addressing what these young people really need. We have his full answers to our questions tonight on our website at foxbaltimore.com. Meanwhile, I mentioned that Squeegee Collaborative set to come out with a plan. We were expecting that the first 2 weeks of this month, early October, but now we're told that it might take a little longer. We'll continue to stay on top of this story, but live for now in North Baltimore, Maxine Stryker, Fox 45 News.
Maxine, thank you. And this is just one of many violent incidents involving squeegee kids this summer. This shooting happened in May, although we're just learning about it now. That's nearly 2 months before Timothy Reynolds was gunned down at the intersection of Light and Conway Streets. Reynolds got out of his car with a baseball bat to confront a group of squeegee kids. His family claims his vehicle was damaged. Well, now a 15-year-old is facing murder charges in Reynolds' death. And weeks later, an 18-year-old squeegee kid was killed on Gwynns Falls Parkway.
Well, Fox 45's Keith Daniels is downtown at a public safety hearing right now, hoping to get some answers on the squeegee crisis from city council members. He joins us live from City Hall. Keith, tell us what's happening. Have you been able to speak to any of the city leaders?
Well, we did, Mary. That public safety meeting wrapping up just now after about 3 hours. We did catch up with some council members here at this hearing. Now, the committee's focus tonight, learning more about the mayor's administration's efforts in providing victim services, primarily those impacted by violent crimes, including homicides. But tonight, we pressed council members here about the latest incident involving a Baltimore man accused in the alleged vigilante shooting of a group of squeegee kids, a violent incident that once again reignites the issue of squeegee kids. Is it time now to remove them from the corners now?
Yeah, well, you know, if we're going to remove them from the corners, we're going to move everybody from the corners, right?
How long will people in Baltimore have to wait before something is done about the problem, though?
Well, it's not like we're not doing anything. Again, we're trying to get the right solutions in place. It's not like nothing's happening. So things are moving forward.
Well, Councilwoman Ramos first at the mic tonight. Now, we caught up, well, rather, not every council member responded to our questions. One of them even telling me that he was late for a meeting, kept past our cameras. Of course, we're still pushing for answers. Well, live now at City Hall, Keith Daniels, Fox 45 News.
All right, Keith, thank you. Well, laws are already in place that would keep squeegee kids off the streets, but Mayor Scott is not enforcing them. One law states a person can't stand in a roadway to solicit a ride, employment, or business from a driver. Another statute targets aggressive soliciting. That's like blocking a driver, obscene language, or intimidation. Now, despite those laws, Mayor Scott says he's not going to clear squeegee kids off the corners, and that has led some to question whether he's defying his oath of office.
And that I will be faithful.
And bear true allegiance.
And bear true allegiance.
To the state of Maryland.
To the state of Maryland.
And support the Constitution.
And support the Constitution.
And laws thereof.
And laws thereof.
The presumptive next city state's attorney, Ivan Bates, has promised to use the laws on the books to prosecute squeegee kids after intervention efforts. However, former city prosecutor Jeremy Eldred says there is not much Bates will be able to do if the mayor doesn't support him.
He can't do it unless the police department actually issues citations. If the police department does not want to issue citations at the order of the mayor, then it doesn't matter what the state's attorney wants to do, because 2 + 2 won't equal 4.
2 Republican candidates for office are weighing in as well. Nicolai Ambrose and Uripsy Morgan, Republicans running for the 2nd and 3rd congressional districts respectively, spoke with Fox 45 News today.
The city has created a situation in which you have squeegee kids on the corners, you have police officers who are watching them. We have created a sense of lawlessness in this city. When you tell people it's okay to break the law, when you tell people that you're going to defend them as they break the law, guess what they're more inclined to do? To break the law. It's our job as adults in the room to make sure that we don't put them in an environment that is unsafe. For the city of Baltimore to allow so many young people to do this is completely, it's ridiculous, it's asinine.
I think the root cause of all of this is people see no hope. The intersection of where all the squeegee activities happening is, for the most part, right across from the police station in downtown Baltimore City. I think it's in everyone's best interest that police encourage the kids to go do more productive things.
That brings us to our question of the day. Do you trust Mayor Scott to get the squeegee situation under control? So far, 98% of those who voted say no. We still want to hear from all of you. Share your opinion by going to foxbaltimore.com/vote.
Leaders in Baltimore are silent so far on some of the big questions surrounding safe streets. Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost shows us what's going on tonight from the Accountability Desk.
We're starting right now with City Hall because a couple of times a week the city spending board gets together and reviews contracts between companies or nonprofits and the city of Baltimore. Here's a photo of the group during their latest meeting, which happened on October 5th. And I want to go over some of the key players. City Council President Nick Mosby, he's one who chairs this entire spending board. But then we have the mayor, DPW Director Jason Mitchell, Comptroller Bill Henry, and then we have the city solicitor, Jim Shea. You can see them all sitting next to each other, and this happens every couple of weeks while they talk about these contracts with the city. And that makes it even more questionable when we hear that some of these leaders don't talk to each other, especially when we're talking about contracts with a program the mayor hails as Baltimore's flagship violence prevention program. And that's the Safe Streets program. And remember, it wasn't that long ago that we heard Mayor Scott say that no one in his office told the council president about changes coming to this program, even though that meant changes to the contracts. Here's what both of them said not too long ago.
My team nor myself was provided any prior briefing on the restructuring of Safe Street.
So is the council president lying?
I can't speak to the council president, but I know myself personally, I spoke to members of the council about a restructuring of Safe Streets in specific areas.
Who?
Multiple council members.
Despite these two sitting next to each other, approving millions of dollars in contracts month after month. There are still a lot of questions about what's going on with this program, and apparently these two leaders aren't talking about it. So that led us to go to this last Board of Estimates meeting and ask the mayor what's going on. Mayor Scott, why won't your administration let us see Safe Streets? I just have one follow-up question, though. Is your administration hiding something when it comes to this program?
We're not hiding Safe Streets money because the contracts are all put out in the public.
Meanwhile, we're still waiting on answers from these two. Bill Henry and Jim Shea. And remember, these two sit on the same Board of Estimates at this meeting week after week after week. Last week, we sent those two a note asking for a few things. We're looking for the metrics used to determine the disbursements of funds to the Safe Streets program. Also, all contracts or RFPs between the City of Baltimore and organizations administering the Safe Streets program. Shea continues to ignore the question, but we did get a response from Comptroller Bill Henry's office. They tell us that they'll send us a formal response by the end of this week, so we'll keep our eyes peeled to our email. In the meantime, we'll continue to investigate the Safe Streets program, looking for answers about how this money is being spent once the city gives it to these nonprofits, especially since the changes to the program are already underway. At the Accountability Desk, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
Well, for the first time in more than 6 decades, the Baltimore City Police Department has redrawn its district maps. City leaders say this new map will help police respond to crime more efficiently, provide officer workload balance for each district, and optimize resource allocation. Former Chief of Police Ed Norris says while this could be a good idea in the long run, there are bigger issues to deal with immediately.
Frankly, I don't know why this was necessary right now when you got such a terrible crime problem on hand. And I don't know how this helps your crime fighting ability, because a lot has to go into this, including change the 911 system. You've got to change a lot of different things, your reporting system, your relationship with the community now. And this, I think, it's really important to have a good relationship with the community leaders at a time when things are really bad like now. And now you're going to have people who are unfamiliar with each other. I just don't know if this was the right time. Not saying it wasn't necessary. I just don't know if it needed to be now.
Well, police say her son was found dead in her estranged husband's home tonight. A mother talks to Fox 45 News about her frustrations that her son's alleged killer won't go to trial.
A candidate for governor hit with a $21,000 water bill, looking into why Westmore had such a huge payment due and what the answer could tell us about the city's billing system.
Well, some temporary relief for families who desperately need it, the efforts to unlock funds from the state's 529 plan, and why some still aren't satisfied.
And the sun is back along with some much warmer temperatures. We're wrapping up the day close to 80 degrees in Baltimore. I'll let you know exactly how long this warmth will stick around in just a couple of minutes.
Rolling out this week, a temporary fix for Maryland 529 account holders unable to unlock their funds. As Fox 45 has reported for more than a month now, thousands of college funds remain frozen as the state agency grapples with technical difficulties. Fox 45's Rebecca Pryor has more on the new short-term solutions and why some parents still aren't satisfied. Rebecca, what a headache and really frightening for parents who need to get this tuition paid.
Terrifying for parents, Kai. And after months of constant questions, there is at least somewhat of a solution. Maryland 529 is rolling out this. It is a support form that account holders, they can fill it out and hopefully get some assistance sooner. Now, it might seem like a step in the right direction. However, what we're hearing from families is that they needed this money months ago. Tuition is now past due, and a FAFSA deadline is quickly approaching. And at least among the parents that I spoke with, those who filled out these forms on Monday have yet to hear anything back. So I pressed the state agency for a timeline today. They were only willing to say that the most urgent cases will be prioritized first, leaving many frustrated families in a bad spot.
Some parents are going to have to take out loans. Some parents are going to have to, liquidate investments, take out mortgages on their homes, other types of situations in order to pay those bills. We're talking about, tens of thousands of dollars in some cases that need to be covered.
Now, again, this form is just a short-term solution as to when this entire issue will be resolved. Maryland 529 says that they'll at least have another update for account holders at the end of October. But again, they're not promising that everything will be fixed by then.
And Rebecca, we understand families are also frustrated with the amount of money being used to solve this problem. How much money is the state spending on this? And it's a bit of an irony here, isn't it?
Yes. So the state agency just approved they approved $1 million to be allocated to fixing this issue, even though they've already been working towards fixing it for months now, which in response, as you can imagine, many parents are wondering why it's costing so much and why it's taking so long. Reporting live in Baltimore, Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
Well, it is so good to see Rebecca and our other reporters out in the sunshine. I'm sure they are happy not to have their raincoats on, holding the umbrella, all of that. Right. It was so nasty for so many days in a row.
It was, but it makes you appreciate the sunshine even more when it comes out. I know. I took my coffee outside this morning. I was like, oh, it's warm and it's sunny out.
You were just relaxing, weren't you?
Yeah, why not when you're working night side?
Join you next time.
Yeah, why not? I know. Perks of working night side. Yeah, it was very nice. And we're starting to see some fall colors pop through, too. I actually just got an update, and I'll show you that in just a second. But first, here's a preview of our sunset times, because unfortunately they're getting earlier and earlier. It's coming up at 6:41 this evening. In just 1 week, we're at 6:30. In 2 weeks, at 6:20. In 3 weeks, at 6:11. And then remember, we fall back November 6th, and that pushes our sunset time even earlier, just before 5 o'clock. But the good news is, as we lose daylight, what happens is the trees start to produce less and less chlorophyll. That's less green. And instead, we start to see some of the other colors shine through. That would be the reds, the oranges, and the yellows. And our latest update just came in an hour ago, shows we're now seeing some patchy fall colors across central parts of Maryland. Now, if you travel west, across extreme western parts of the state, already reaching the midpoint there. So that means some more vibrant fall colors showing up. We're happy to see the blue black back in the sky. This is the current scene looking down at Towson. Bright sunshine, warm temperatures, lots of 70s showing up on the map. Actually awfully close to 80 right now at BWI. And we are nice and dry. That's a welcome sight on the weather map. Next, weather makers out here. It's this cold front. There's not a ton of moisture associated with that, and that will be the case as it passes our way. Not a lot of rain expected, but you are seeing the blues and the purples show up behind it. That's the drop in temperatures. That's the colder air moving in behind that front. But out ahead of it, it's going to be mild tonight as lows dip briefly back into the upper 50s. Tomorrow's another nice warm day. We get into the upper 70s before that cold front comes through. Front won't send us any rain. It does send us some extra clouds overnight Friday. And then by Saturday morning, that chill is back. We're starting off in the mid-30s in Carroll County. That's cold enough for frosty conditions. The rest of us start off in the chilly low 40s Saturday morning. During the afternoon, it's much cooler. It's brisk with temperatures struggling to get out of the 50s. I think we get close to 60, and that's about it. Tonight's going to be pleasant if you want to sit out and maybe have a bonfire or campfire with the family. Temperatures will be holding in the low 60s tonight. Tomorrow's a fantastic day if you want to get to the pumpkin patch, maybe beat the crowds for the weekend. It's going to be bright, sunny, and warm too, with temperatures hanging out in the mid-70s. Now, temperatures will be cooling for the weekend, very fall-like, low 60s on Saturday, mid-60s on Sunday. But it looks like this sunny stretch will last through at least next Wednesday, with our next shot at rain coming Thursday. Mary?
Amy, thank you. The legal impact of squeegeeing going unaddressed in our city. We hear from a legal analyst. Her estranged husband and former city officer accused in her son's death. The mother speaking with us after learning the case won't go to trial. Well, Amazon is increasing its staffing in Maryland, looking to hire over 4,000 new employees. The company is hiring 150,000 employees across the U.S., including 4,600 right here in our state. Available jobs include warehouse and shipping positions. Interested candidates can go to foxbaltimore.com/newslinks. Well, a grim outlook from the head of the International Monetary Fund, warning about an increased risk of a global recession sparked by inflation. National correspondent Audra El-Nishar reports.
At this grocery store in Gaithersburg, Maryland, what was once price shock is now the new normal.
I had the salmon fillet. Used to be $7.99 when you bought a bulk. Now it's $11.99. Yes. I don't get it.
Inflation also causing headaches 25 miles south at the White House. With the midterms less than 5 weeks out, President Biden framing economic woes at home as fallout from global factors instead of his policies. Some voters agree.
Supply chain has always been a long thread. Any disruption anywhere causes problems.
But polls show the majority disapprove of the president's handling of the economy. The president trying to shift sentiment as his party works to hold on to majorities in Congress, making a stop in Hagerstown, Maryland Friday on what he calls building the economy from the bottom up and middle out. But building anything right now is tricky. General contractor Marion Maxim knows it. We caught up with him on his way to a job Thursday morning.
Sometimes on building materials, it's backlogged, sometimes 6 weeks, sometimes 2 months, sometimes 3 months.
Even smaller items can be hard to come by, like at this barber shop.
Razors, some clippers, product, just different products in general.
Each business navigating the hurdles differently, but a source of universal pain is here. At the Shell station in Gaithersburg, gas is $3.49 a gallon, and throughout Maryland, gas prices are about 30 cents cheaper than the national average, according to AAA. But folks here still have to deal with the same volatility as the rest of the country. In fact, between Wednesday and Thursday night, gas prices statewide jumped on average 7 cents. Many getting used to costs affecting their routine, but still eager for relief.
I definitely think that the way things are definitely going in a wrong direction. So I definitely think that change needs to happen.
In the final stretch of campaigning, each party fighting to convince voters they're the ones who can turn that around. In Gaithersburg, Maryland, I'm Atrell Nishar reporting.
Rebuilding along Florida's coast will be extremely expensive. Digging into just how much will be spent and how it could impact taxpayers far and wide. Candidate for Governor Wes Moore had a water bill over $21,000. We explore how it could have gotten so big so fast and who's to blame. And she believes her son's alleged killer took the easy way out by not going to trial. Fox 45 News hears from the woman whose son was found dead allegedly in the home of a former Baltimore police officer.
The mother, whose son police say was killed by a former Baltimore City police officer, is speaking out. According to police, 15-year-old Desan Jones was found dead inside the home of his stepfather, Eric Banks, in Anne Arundel County in July of 2021.
That's right. And tonight, Alexa Ashwell talks with the teen's mother about the tragedy.
The mother, who is Eric Banks' estranged wife, believes he took the easy way out in not letting this case go to trial, and tells me she looks forward to his sentencing.
I want them to know that he was special.
From across the country and inside the new home she now shares with her two sons, Latrice Banks tearfully opens up about the murder of her 15-year-old son, Dasan Jones, and her estranged husband, former Baltimore police officer Eric Banks, who appeared in court just this week for his stepson's murder.
You were hoping that this would go to trial?
Yes, it needed to.
Banks, who has been in custody since his stepson Dasan's body was found inside a crawl space of his home in Anne Arundel County back in July 2021, entered into an Alford plea, acknowledging the jury would have likely found him guilty of murder, but not admitting any guilt. Latrice calling it the easy way out.
Because to me, it doesn't say I did it, but it says there's enough evidence to say I did it. So, let's just say you did it then. Instead. So I still have those feelings that, no, I'm not happy with it.
Latrice recalling that day.
I had that feeling.
She had just left court for a hearing for another protective order against Banks. The two, she said, had been having marital issues. In this court document writing, I am in fear for my life and well-being because Eric Banks keeps trying to control, follow, and emotionally abuse myself and my sons. Hours later, officers found Dasan's body inside Banks' home after Latrice called police saying she hadn't heard from her son and was concerned. Banks was taken into custody. Court documents detailing he tried to disarm the responding officer after the discovery, telling him, "You're going to have to end this."
I knew it. And he was my baby. So I knew it. And we found him. He was unresponsive.
A medical examiner later determining Dasan died of asphyxiation. Latrice haunted by the missing pieces as to exactly what happened.
Yes, because we don't know. We only know that, what the medical examiner said.
A mother left now with only the memory of her firstborn child, a young man filled with much love and promise.
Dasan's light and his love and his caring, kind heart will live on.
The mother says she has started a foundation for children who are victims of child abuse in honor of her son. As for Banks, he's scheduled to be sentenced December 9th. Latrice Banks says she'll be there. Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
Well, we are still learning some new details about the alleged kidnapping and attempted murder of 3 squeegee kids back in May. Happened just weeks before another violent squeegee incident that resulted in the death of Timothy Reynolds. Today, Fox 45's Tom Rogers spoke with a legal expert about how this new information could impact the legal battle surrounding his death.
A kidnapping and attempted murder involving squeegee kids brings critics to point to a lack of action by Baltimore City leaders. A lack of action may play a significant role in the defense of another high-profile case involving a murder by a squeegee kid. Former city prosecutor, now with EN Lawyers, Kurt Nachman, says the revenge case could be used as a pattern for the defense.
He's investigating the fact that $2,000 plus was stolen from his mother. What, if anything, are the city leaders and the police department doing about that crime that occurred? And if they're not going to do something about it, people are ultimately going to take the law into their own hands, right or wrong. You can see how the system has failed at multiple levels here in this situation.
But this happened in May, but also July 7th, we know of a 14-year-old at the time, now 15-year-old, who's been charged with murdering 48-year-old Timothy Reynolds. So when that happened, though, coming afterwards, will this play into that factor, that court case at all? Can the defense now or the prosecutors go after saying, look, this is setting up a pattern of violence with squeegee kids?
Well, I certainly think that that's something that the prosecutors are going to look hard at. In other words, this level of sort of lawlessness, the fact that these encounters happen, the fact that people feel like they must take the law into their own hands, give some sort of justification for Mr. Reynolds, because I think this is going to come down to a self-defense case, right?
Now, Nachman went on to say the suspect in the revenge case from May is most likely facing 3 kidnapping charges, 3 attempted murder charges, just to name a few. But it all comes down to the defense pitting this incident versus the city taking action on squeegee kids. Tom Rogers, Fox 45 News.
The motivation behind the double squeegee-related shooting that we just learned about, the alleged shooter's mother supposedly fell for a Cash App scam. Earlier this year, a Fox 45 News employee became the victim of a squeegee kid through the same scam. He says squeegee kids use his phone to send themselves hundreds of dollars. The Baltimore City Council did address these scams during a hearing on squeegee kids. Many of them said the responsibility is on drivers.
Obviously, we've heard about the Cash Apps, that people have gotten, large amounts taken out of Cash App. And to those people who hand people their phones, don't do that, right? Like, don't hand somebody your phone.
Fox 45 News did press city leaders on the squeegee kid problem. Many times in the past, some point out the current situation is dangerous, not just for drivers, but also for squeegee kids.
I believe this activity is unsafe, unhealthy, and beneath the greatness and dignity of our young people.
It is not safe for anyone in that scenario. It is not safe for the people engaged in the squeegee activity. It's not safe for the motorists. It's not safe for nearby pedestrians. It's not safe for anyone.
It's also unsafe for these young people to be out there. It's just plain and simple unsafe.
Tonight, in Maryland's Most Wanted, federal agents have joined the search for an alleged pocket-picking fugitive.
She goes into the store, she attempts to access the ATM, get some cash out, but the whole time she feels kind of eerie because she feels like the male inside the store is watching her.
That attack left a woman injured and the latest fugitive to be put behind bars. Alexa Ash will have both stories tonight on Maryland's Most Wanted.
In our Vote 2022 campaign tonight, the campaign for Democratic gubernatorial candidate Wes Moore says he's paid that outstanding $21,000 water bill for his Baltimore home. But is it possible this is another example of an out-of-control water bill in Baltimore? Fox 45's Amy Simpson has a closer look.
It's a complaint we hear often. Maybe it's happened to you or even a neighbor here in the city. Baltimore residents opening that water bill to see a balance that they think is impossible for any one family to reach.
Admire and respect.
Add gubernatorial hopeful Wes Moore to the list.
Who's going to pay this?
Of Baltimore residents and homeowners who've been faced with a water bill in the thousands. This stone mansion in the city's Guilford neighborhood, which real estate listings describe as an 8,600 square foot, 6-bed, 7-bath property. This video online giving a bird's eye view of a backyard pool and patio. News broke yesterday this home owned by Wes Moore, the Democrat on next month's ballot for Maryland governor. Went nearly a year and a half without paying the property's water bill, racking up an outstanding balance of $21,200.
$21,000. I mean, no one's using $1,000 a month of water. I mean, it's impossible.
That sky-high bill broken down across 17 months, averaging more than $1,200 monthly in water usage. Moore's campaign quick to say the Moores have paid the current balance out of an abundance of caution while they review the accuracy of the charges.
You would have to have a major leak or a major problem to have that high a bill.
But this political analyst questions if this was negligence on behalf of a homeowner at all, or if the city's water infrastructure and management may be to blame.
My gut tells me most of this is on the Baltimore City Water Authority, and I think that they're the ones who need to answer some questions about how does someone rake in a bill this high?
It's a tale heard time and time again in Baltimore City.
I thought it was a mistake.
Residents opening envelopes to find water bills in the thousands.
That's why my pressure stays up. Every time the mailman comes, I'm nervous because I don't know what the bill is going to be.
Or tens of thousands.
How come all of our bills are like $5,000? $25,995.27. I can't even come up with $500.
Meanwhile, in that statement shared yesterday by Moore's campaign, they too question the accuracy of the exorbitant charges. This headline in the news as the gubernatorial hopeful is just a month out from Election Day.
Yeah, Westmore has the money to write this check to make this just go away as a political thing. It's a one-day story.
Now, today I questioned Baltimore City DPW about this exorbitant water bill, asking at what point does the city take action against delinquent bills, and were any delinquent notices sent to Moore's address? Also asking if they are investigating the accuracy of the water meter and this bill at Moore's address, but none of those questions have been answered. Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
A Washington Post University of Maryland poll finds Moore holds a 32 percentage point lead over his opponent, Dan Cox. Now, according to this poll, 22% of Republicans say they would vote for Moore, a Democrat, come November.
Well, new tonight, a report on the efforts to clear pollution from Baltimore's Inner Harbor. The Waterfront Partnership of Baltimore releasing new data on the progress in making the harbor swimmable and fishable. Organizers say the report shows a positive trend toward that goal. The report card shows lower bacteria in the water and a significant reduction in sewer overflows.
Problems are being fixed, and the water is getting cleaner. And it's still time. It's time for us to embrace the harbor as a recreational resource.
Well, the Waterfront Partnership says a statewide ban on foam containers has also led to a big reduction of trash in the harbor picked up by the trash wheels. And while most of the report card showed positive trends, sections of the waterfront still scored low on bacteria safety for people, and progress on improving pollution was set back by issues at the Patapsco wastewater treatment plant.
It will take billions of dollars to repair areas hit hard by Hurricane Ian. Coming up, we'll have a closer look at how much it will cost and how much of the money will be tax dollars. A court rules DACA is unlawful, what the decision means for the fate of dreamers trying to stay in the United States.
And last weekend was a washout. This weekend looks much better for whatever you have planned outside. I'm actually giving it the green light Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The only thing I'm tracking, some temperature changes. I'll let you know when we could see the first frost of the season in our area in just a couple of minutes.
Vice President Kamala Harris is fine tonight after being in a minor car accident this week, but there is concern with how this accident was handled. A Secret Service spokesperson says the agent driving Harris hit a tunnel curb and the car needed a tire replacement. Now, the Washington Post reports the agency is not happy with how the accident was handled, considering the level of experience and training with the driver. Well, senior leadership was initially told it was a mechanical error. President Biden's approval rating is up for the third straight month. According to the latest NPR Marist poll, 44% of adults approve the job that Biden is doing. Now, that's up from 38% in August. His low rating was just 36% in July. Independents' approval rating for the president shot up 9 percentage points from August, and Democrats' approval rating went up by 8 points. Well, the future of immigration in America is up in the air again. A federal appeals court rules the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program is unlawful. DACA was created during the Obama administration to provide a temporary reprieve to undocumented immigrants who are brought to the United States as children. Now, this ruling doesn't impact those currently in the program, but it does block new applications. As Florida continues to assess the damage caused by Hurricane Ian, some are raising questions about federal aid and whether taxpayer dollars should continue to be paid in high-risk disaster areas. National correspondent Kayla Gaskins has the story.
It's been just over 1 week since Hurricane Ian made landfall in Florida, killing at least 125 people and leaving cities unrecognizable. Residents say seeing the damage up close has been devastating.
When we walked out, it was like something out of a war zone.
FEMA has registered hundreds of thousands of households and given millions of dollars so far for things like essential items, temporary rentals, and home repairs. While surveying the destruction in Fort Myers Wednesday, President Biden said federal aid will be there for the long haul.
We're not leaving until this gets done.
Hurricane Ian is the latest natural disaster that is raising questions about federal aid and whether taxpayers should be paying for some homeowners to rebuild in areas that are high risk for another disaster.
In the past, communities have been required to rebuild as is, and not doing things that might improve their resilience in the future.
Young says the U.S. doesn't have solid pre-disaster planning for how changes could be made to vulnerable communities, and the aid often comes with few strings attached.
I really believe that we need to be spending that money in a way that allows us to at least take some baby steps back from those areas that we know are incredibly vulnerable.
In 2012, Hurricane Sandy caused $65 billion worth of damage in the U.S. and damaged or destroyed 346,000 homes in New Jersey alone. And despite risk of another storm hitting the area, some homes were rebuilt. Now, in the aftermath of Ian's destructive path, the debate continues over funding rebuilding efforts. But in the meantime, Floridians aren't giving up hope.
We're strong people. We'll get through it and we'll rebuild and come back.
I'm Kayla Gaskins reporting.
All right, well, meteorologist Amy Aronson is here today, and she has the wonderful duty to talk about all the great weather we're having right now.
Yeah, we sure earned it, right? We
have
6 days in a row of rain,
chilly,
cool temperatures.
Yes.
I know. I think it was a little bit of a nice break, but we are ready to move on and enjoy the sunshine. And that's exactly what we've got right now. Lots of 70s on the map. It's nice and warm. We sure missed this. Low, mid, and upper 70s. Actually, BWI came in with a reported high of 79 degrees today, not too far off from that 80-degree mark. And this puts us about 15 degrees above where we were at this time yesterday. So feels much warmer out there, looks much prettier. Looking down at the Inner Harbor, we can see that sunshine is back and temperatures are in the upper 70s. Tomorrow's going to be similar before a cold front arrives. That's our next weather maker, and that's what's going to bring us cool temperatures again by the weekend. And here's a look at where that cold front is right now. It's stretched out across the Midwest. That's what's going to sink southward, and that's what's going to bring us that big temperature change. But fortunately, it's not going to send us any more rain. So we are going to stay nice and dry for the next couple of days, even as that front passes through. You'll notice as it travels our way, the moisture behind it falls apart, and it just reaches us as a couple of clouds tomorrow evening. Behind it, though, we'll see clearing and then a big drop by Saturday morning. But we will enjoy another day in the 70s tomorrow. If you didn't get a chance to enjoy it today, you've got another opportunity. Mid-70s as we head through the afternoon on Friday. Saturday, you'll notice a difference. We are starting off in the 40s, we climb our way through the 50s, and that's where we get stuck. We barely reach 60 degrees Saturday afternoon. And if you're wondering, is it going to stay warmer or cooler now as we head through the month of October? According to the Climate Prediction Center, they include us in this bright blue here, which means in our 8 to 14-day temperature outlook, there's a decent chance our temperatures actually stay below normal. And this outlook would take us all the way through mid-October, October 19th. In the short term, temperatures are all over the place. We should be in the low 70s. We're above that tomorrow. We're below that over the weekend. We've got the potential for some frost this weekend, both Saturday and Sunday mornings as temperatures dip into the 40s. Going to be chilly at M&T Bank Stadium Sunday night with temperatures dropping throughout the game into the 40s. And then as we head through early next week, the sun is here to stay. Next shot at rain holds off until next Thursday. Now, in a couple of minutes, we will take a more detailed look at that Ravens forecast in your full weekend forecast. Kai?
Thank you, Amy. Coming up on Fox 45 News at 6 o'clock, poultry with a purpose. How a Baltimore eatery is helping Hurricane Ian victims 1,000 miles away.
The Ravens were without their two top running backs for all of 2021. What having them both back healthy means for this offense, coming up next on Sports Unlimited. On to Cincinnati. It's a phrase made famous by Bill Belichick, and after another shocking loss on Sunday, it's a mentality that the Baltimore Ravens have embraced. No Rashad Bateman on the practice field for the second straight day, the second-year wideout still dealing with a foot injury. On a positive note, J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards practiced together for the first time this year. Both running backs suffered a torn ACL that caused them to miss the entire 2021 season. So Greg Roman is happy to have them both back.
It's great to have them back. the bus is back, and there's going to be trouble. Is that a song? No, that's not it. But yeah, it's great to have Gus back. Like how he looks, too. He looks good.
Veteran linebacker A.J. Klein has officially joined the Ravens, practicing with the team for the first time on Thursday. A fifth-round pick of the Panthers in 2013, Klein has registered 449 tackles, 15.5 sacks, and brings 9 years of experience to this Ravens defense.
I've been around a lot of good coaches, and I play a lot of ball, so hopefully I can bring experience and share that knowledge and help the back seven communicate. And like I said, whatever asset or wherever they see me playing and helping out is what I'll do.
Coming up tonight, we'll chat with a few Ravens players ahead of their first divisional matchup with the Bengals. That's this Sunday night. For now, in Owings Mills, Rocco DeSangro for Sports Unlimited.
We are getting closer and closer to the weekend, and I'm happy to say this weekend looks so much better than last weekend. Last weekend was a washout. This weekend, we've got all sunshine starting tomorrow. We start off really warm, so much like today, we'll make our way into the upper 70s tomorrow. But then I'm tracking this cold front that's going to push through. Not going to send us rain, but it will have a big impact on our temperatures. Brings us into the much cooler and actually pretty brisk low 60s on Saturday. By Sunday, it's a little milder. We are making our way back into the mid 60s during the afternoon. But Sunday night for that Ravens game, yeah, numbers are going to fall again. That means if you're going to be out at M&T Bank Stadium for the game, I would plan on layering up. We will enjoy clear skies for that game, but temperatures will be falling and actually ending the night and the weekend in the cool low 50s again. Mary?
Amy, thank you. Coming up on Fox 45 News at 6 o'clock, Baltimore's squeegee crisis takes center stage at a city council meeting. Keith Daniels has a response from city leaders and a live report. Also ahead, a homeless protest blocks traffic on the JFX. How a dispute with the local farmers market is fueling the outrage.
We're working to figure out how to solve something that has been an issue for the city for 4 or 5 decades.
An attack of revenge, safety concerns about squeegee kids and drivers around them. Team coverage tonight as Fox 45 pushes for answers from Mayor Scott and the City Council. Perry Hall High School now clear after an hour-long lockdown. What Baltimore County Police are sharing about what happened. And after years of savings, some Maryland parents do not have access to their kids' college funds. How the state is trying to make amends and why parents say the solution isn't enough.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 6.
It's definitely getting out of hand.
Frustration mounting among Baltimore residents after details emerge of another incident involving squeegee kids, this time alleged victims of retaliation. Good evening, everybody. I'm Mary Bubala. After a violent summer on Baltimore street corners, residents continue to call on those in power to do something. We have team coverage tonight as Fox 45 continues to press city leaders. Let's begin with Keith Daniels at a city council meeting on neighborhood safety. Keith?
Well, Mary, that council hearing wrapped up. It's wrapped up after about 3 hours. Now, we caught up with council members at this hearing. Now, the committee's focus tonight, learning more about the mayor's administration's efforts in providing victim services, primarily those impacted by violent crimes, including homicides. But tonight, we pressed council members here about the latest incident involving a Baltimore man accused in the alleged vigilante shooting of a group of squeegee kids, a violent incident that once again reignites the issue of squeegee kids. Is it time now to remove them from the corners now?
Yeah, well, you know, if we're going to remove them from the corners, we're going to remove everybody from the corners, right?
How long will people in Baltimore have to wait before something is done about the problem, though?
Well, it's not like we're not doing anything. Again, we're trying to get the right solutions in place. It's not like nothing's happening. So things are moving forward.
Councilwoman Ramos, the first at the mic tonight. Now, not every council member responded to our questions, but still tonight, we're pushing for answers. Well, live at City Hall, Keith Daniels, Fox 45 News.
Keith, thank you. Well, Fox 45 also heard from a pair of Republican candidates for Congress about Baltimore's ongoing squeegee crisis. They say city leaders need to be more active.
When you tell people it's okay to break the law, when you tell people that you're going to defend them as they break the law, guess what they're more inclined to do? To break the law. It's our job as adults in the room to make sure that we don't put them in an environment that is unsafe. For the city of Baltimore to allow so many young people to do this is completely, it's ridiculous, it's asinine.
I think it's in everyone's best interest that police encourage the kids to go do more productive things.
Well, Fox 45 is also pressing Mayor Brandon Scott on his plan to address squeegee kids on street corners. Maxine Stryker continues our team coverage.
Well, we wanted to question the mayor today, but he left a press conference early before we were able to catch up with him in person. Meanwhile, this problem persists as city leaders still have yet to come up with a solution.
It's a crisis decades in the making.
We're working to figure out how to solve something that has been an issue for the city for 4 or 5 decades, and it is quite complex, and that's why all of the brain power in the city is all in one room trying to help fix that.
As city leaders continue to try to solve the squeegee kid problem,
where's put that big bill, boss?
The incidents keep on coming. According to police, there have been more than 600 squeegee-related calls since July 1st. Just yesterday, we learned about 2 squeegee kids shot in May in what police indicate was a revenge shooting after the suspect, who has been arrested and charged with attempted homicide, said squeegee kids stole from his mother. The man allegedly luring the kids to a home on Edmondson Avenue before firing, striking a 17-year-old in the back of the head and a 23-year-old in the neck. And then there was Timothy Reynolds, who police say was shot and killed by a squeegee kid in July after he got out of his car with a baseball bat to confront a group of them.
Well, can you arrest them for that, or can you detain them?
Baltimore Police Commissioner Michael Harrison was questioned about the issue on WBAL Radio's C4 and Brian Neiman show this morning.
The answer is quite complex, and it's really for me it would be disingenuous to your listeners to answer yes or no. There are quite a bit of First Amendment issues at play there.
While the Supreme Court has ruled that those who solicit donations are constitutionally protected, legal experts say squeegee kids' actions can go far beyond what the Constitution protects.
There are a lot of nuances to that. So there is no just yes or no. And while there are laws on the books, don't forget, the way to enforce it has caused the police department problems. And that's what we are working on now with the collaborative, trying to figure out the appropriate constitutional way to enforce it.
Meanwhile, the commissioner and mayor, Brandon Scott, continue to work with the Squeegee Collaborative, which has been active for months now. But the mayor's office says the plan isn't likely to be finished until late fall. We wanted to question the mayor today about the rising tensions among drivers and squeegee kids, but he left a press conference before we were able to. We instead sent the mayor a series of questions, including, with more than 600 calls since the start of the summer related to squeegee kids, are you failing to see there is a problem on these corners for both motorists and these kids? The mayor's office responded, saying in part, I have been very clear that I want to work with business and community leaders, as well as city government, to identify ways to address what has been an issue for as long as I have been alive, adding, we must find pathways for these young people away from soliciting funds on our corners in a way that is constitutional but also sustainable. We also asked the mayor's office, are you letting kids run havoc in the city? The mayor's office responded, saying, we are ensuring that our enforcement is constitutional while also connecting young people with necessary resources such as job preparation, job placement, and family support in cases when individuals have gone beyond expressing free speech and resorted to committing destruction of property or other crimes. We have made arrests, adding, in some instances, they've helped some of these young people land employment. And we asked, if you can't get a handle on the squeegee kids, how can you get a handle on the crime facing the city? The response, unlike any other administration before, we are taking the proper approach to addressing why these young people squeegee. Many of these reasons also can lead young people into a life of crime. There is no such thing as a quick fix when you are dealing with people, poverty, and family dynamics that may force these young people into difficult situations.
You can read the full answers to our questions right now on our website at foxbaltimore.com. In Baltimore, Maxine Stryker, Fox 45 News.
The all clear has been given at Perry Hall High School after a lockdown this afternoon. Baltimore County Police say they had to break up a fight behind the school. Now, a police spokesperson tells Fox 45 all students were dismissed from the school safely about 10 minutes after scheduled dismissal time. Now, one student was taken to the hospital. Perry Hall Principal Craig Reed released a statement thanking school resource officers and Baltimore County Police for their quick work to ensure all students were safe. Mary?
Hi, thank you. A protest tonight blocked the ramp to the JFX on Gay Street after homeless people were reportedly told they have to move. The encampment formed this weekend on the same site as an officially permitted farmers market, just close to it. Vendors and homeless people briefly got into some arguments over the space. The market is permitted to return this weekend, as it does all fall weekends. You can see our reporting on the original dispute and video from this weekend on foxbaltimore.com. We'll let you know the outcome of this dispute over this space. Well, Maryland families unable to access their 529 college savings funds may have a temporary fix. Fox 45's Rebecca Pryor looks into the short-term solution and why some parents still are not satisfied.
Yeah, after months of constant questions, this is Maryland 529's answer. It's a support form that account holders can fill out and hopefully get some assistance sooner. Now, it might seem like a step in the right direction, but families that I've been speaking with, they say they've needed their money months ago.
We need help now. We need clear answers.
With tuition now past due and a FAFSA deadline quickly approaching.
We're talking about tens of thousands of dollars in some cases that need to be covered.
The wait is still not over for about 30,000 frustrated Maryland families being denied full access to their children's college funds.
We will try to prioritize the most urgent cases.
At a town hall last week, Maryland 529 only offering a temporary fix to the calculation error that surfaced late last year. They say these support forms found on their website will spearhead solutions for those who need help now.
Completing and submitting this form is the best way to trigger an individual account review.
This account support form is a helpful development if it's used as intended, but there are just still too many uncertainties.
Brian Savohi is an account holder behind the Free Our Interest Now Maryland 529 Facebook page. In a matter of weeks, it's gathered over 80 followers. He says parents no longer trust the state agency or this form.
Regardless of need, we don't know when Maryland 529 is going to come back to us. They haven't provided any type of timeline.
So far, he hasn't heard of any accounts being serviced since the support form rolled out. This despite $1 million worth of consulting fees recently being allocated to the issue.
They've had auditors working on this for 6 months down at Intuition. Why do they need more money to manage this issue and problem. It's just, in my mind, it looks like, all the hallmarks of government waste.
So still no long-term solutions in sight. Right now, Maryland 529 is only promising another update for account holders at the end of this month. Reporting in Baltimore, Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
Well, new tonight, Baltimore's health department is temporarily shutting down a Burger King at the corner of Light and Lombard Streets. A health report found the restaurant wasn't properly removing smoke from its kitchen and didn't properly dispose of its grease. It's unclear when the location could reopen. Well, coming up, truckloads of relief. Fox 45 highlights a Baltimore eatery's efforts to help Hurricane Ian victims in Florida.
And we're finally turning a corner in the weather department. The sun is back along with the warmer temperatures. I'll let you know exactly how long the 70s stick around and what we're looking ahead to for the weekend in a couple of minutes.
And President Biden pardoned thousands of marijuana convictions across the country. Why Maryland and other states could soon take other progressive steps.
Fox 45 News, winner of 17 2022 Regional Emmy Awards, more than all other Baltimore news stations combined.
We are following breaking news out of Frederick. A large police presence on the scene where a motorcycle crashed into two pedestrians along Hillcrest Drive. According to the local Fox affiliate there, you can see the badly damaged motorcycle on the side of the road as the helicopter now zooms down. It's not clear how bad the injuries are, but commuters are being told to avoid that area while the crash team investigates. And here's our look at today's top trending stories. Number one, the results are in. Baltimore's annual Inner Harbor report card is being unveiled today. The survey focused on water quality, of which Baltimore has seen several issues this year. City leaders acknowledge excess sewage in the Patapsco River, as well as the city's September E. coli contamination. But some good news. The report confirmed a reduction in sewage and bacteria in the harbor compared to this time last year. The report cautions about swimming, but says if you do, stay away from boats. As for keeping the harbor clean, city leaders say it will take a community effort.
We're going to begin to partner with our public so that we can have clean and healthy communities. So you're going to see a lot of that work. And that's important, because if we take pride, ownership, and stewardship into our communities, right, we have cleaner communities, and that cleaner communities make our harbors and all of our waterways and all our natural resource healthier as well.
The Waterfront Partnership says a statewide ban on foam containers has also led to a big reduction of trash in the harbor picked up by the trash wheels. Number two, federal investigators believe they have enough evidence to charge Hunter Biden with tax crimes and making a false statement on a gun purchase. This, according to the Washington Post exclusive report. The president's son has been under investigation since 2018. It will be up to the U.S. attorney in Delaware, a Trump appointee, to decide whether to pursue charges. A lawyer for Hunter Biden accuses investigators of improperly leaking information, according to the Post. Number three, the president is pardoning thousands of Americans convicted on simple possession of marijuana. It is a dramatic step toward decriminalizing the drug and addressing racial inequity when it comes to prosecuting drug crimes. Biden is calling on governors to issue similar pardons on state offenses. Keep in mind, we are just over a month away from Maryland voters deciding on marijuana legalization. Recent polls show legalization is the likely outcome. A local eatery is stepping up to help the Hurricane Ian relief efforts in Florida. Holly Poultry, based in Wicomico Street in Baltimore, loaded up a semi-truck with 25,000 pounds of chicken to provide for families cleaning up in Southwest Florida. That chicken is coming in the form of both pre-made meals and frozen meat.
They're going to be cooking some of the stuff we're sending down and feeding people right there at their locations in the Fort Myers marketplace. Also, some of it's going to be going down and then going out to families where they don't have anything, and giving them some resource of supplies, water, and food.
That's just truly amazing. Way to go for this local company. The shipment, as you heard, also includes water and supplies for families in need. Well, here at home, the remnants of Ian seem to finally have moved out of our area. Amy, we saw the return of sunshine, which was just glorious today, and some warm weather.
Yeah, exactly. You can actually still see, believe it or not, what's left of Ian. It's just far away from us now, actually pushing its way up through Canada. For us, we're already looking ahead to our next weather maker, and that's this cold front off to our west here. That's going to be heading our direction tomorrow. Now, fortunately, that is not going to send us more rain. The sunny pattern will continue. One more warm day ahead of us, and then that front is expected to send us quite a cool down. And if we track it together hour by hour, you'll notice we stay completely dry and clear overnight tonight, leading us into Friday morning. Tomorrow, bright and sunny still, even as that front passes through. We do see a couple of extra clouds courtesy of that, but I think the main change you'll notice will be in our temperatures. And you'll notice that overnight Friday into Saturday morning. That cooler air is going to blow in and take over, and that's going to bring our numbers way down. But before that gets here, we enjoy one more day well into the 70s. Much like today, tomorrow's going to be nice and mild with highs peaking in the mid and upper 70s. Saturday, different story. We start off really cool in the morning. Actually, we're tracking the potential for our first frost of the season north and west of Baltimore. And then temperatures will warm from the 40s to the 50s, only into the low 60s. It's going to be a brisk day on Saturday and actually stay cooler for the entire weekend. And according to the Climate Prediction Center, long-term temperature trends through our 8 to 14-day forecast show that we are going to keep cooler temperatures around in this outlook. This actually takes us all the way through October 19th, and we are included in that darker blue, and that means a pretty decent chance that our temperatures will stay below normal through that point. Besides tomorrow, the rest of the weekend is certainly cooler than normal. Upper 70s for one more day tomorrow, and then on Saturday it's cool and brisk again with highs only in the low 60s, even colder at night. Saturday morning, Sunday morning, be prepared for a little bit of frost if you're north and west of Baltimore City, up in Carroll County. Sunday is just as bright and sunny, little milder, with temperatures back in the mid-60s. This means if you're headed out to the Ravens game Sunday night, temperatures will be falling again. Although it's going to be nice and warm during the afternoon, temperatures will be cooling beyond kickoff. After sunset, we are left behind with completely clear skies. That's nice, but temperatures are going to be jacket-worthy. We start the game in the low 50s. We end it even cooler than that, getting into the upper 40s and low 50s. Now, coming up in a couple of minutes, we'll take a look ahead at our full 10-day forecast. Mary?
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
Taking a quick glance at this video, you may think there was a fire near the Susquehanna River in Pennsylvania this morning, but in fact, this is an example of advection fog. It forms as warmer, moist air moves over a colder ground or body of water, and unlike radiation fog, advection fog can form under cloudy skies and with strong winds. It's more common on the West Coast, making this sight rather unusual.
For more content like this, follow the National Weather Desk on TikTok.
A series of fake phone calls have students and teachers in South Carolina on edge. Why social media may be behind this dangerous trend. We're updating the breaking news out of Frederick. Fox 45 News has learned one of two pedestrians hit by a motorcycle has died. The driver and other pedestrian are being rushed to trauma centers. How this crash happened is under investigation. It will be for some time. Commuters along Hillcrest Drive are being asked to find alternate routes around this investigation. In tonight's Assignment America, a troubling TikTok trend is parents and students questioning school safety. Kelsey Sanchez from our Sinclair sister station in Columbia, South Carolina, explains.
The fear that they felt is real.
Dozens of schools in South Carolina turned upside down after reports of an active shooter wound up being fake in several school districts. But it led to very legitimate action by law enforcement and administrators.
To see this happen simultaneously across our state and probably other parts of the country because of a TikTok challenge, we have to take some action.
So far, schools in Charleston, Georgetown, Chester, Chesterfield, Beaufort, York, Newberry, and Horry counties had phony calls coming claiming there was an active shooter. Hundreds of law enforcement officials across the state rushing to the calls, locking down campus and assessing the situation.
We had officers on scene, but that type of call immediately initiates a multi-agency response from police, fire, and EMS. So we responded, Charleston Fire Department responded, and Charleston County EMS immediately had people on the way.
We were in control of the school, searching the school, making sure that there was not anybody with a gun there.
No guns were found and no one was hurt in any of the incidents. Parents at several of the schools targeted were forced into long lines as they picked up their children. Leaders all over the state, including Governor Henry McMaster, responding.
I am confident from my conversations that the state and federal law enforcement are all over this.
SLED is also investigating the credibility of the threats and is asking anyone with information to call law enforcement. The FBI is also part of the investigation.
Well, students in Howard County experienced a hoax threat earlier this week. River Hill High School was on lockdown for several hours Tuesday. Police say the school received a call about a student with a gun and a bomb inside, but officers ultimately determined it was a hoax.
Now let's take a look at your full 10-day forecast. We'll squeeze in one more really warm day tomorrow. It's actually the warmest out of the next 10. After that, we're in for a speedy cool down this weekend. Cooler and breezy on Saturday with highs in the low 60s. We warm a little bit on Sunday, but the overnight lows are still chilly, dipping into the 40s. Monday, we're back in the upper 60s, and then the low 70s return. Looks like we'll stay rain-free and dry at least through next Wednesday. I am tracking a new weather maker next Thursday that will not only send us some rain by the end of the week, it's also going to cool us right back down again. So a quick look ahead at the following weekend shows it's going to be even cooler, but right now it looks mostly dry. Back to you.
Maybe. Thank you. Well, finally tonight, the sight of a flying bird is always majestic. And there's actually a lot of work that goes into learning how to fly. Check this out. Some of the great trainers over at the Maryland Zoo are conducting outdoor flight drills with frogmouths and hornbills. It's a huge step in building trust between bird and trainer. They know all the signals. Oh, that's so neat. It typically takes birds about 3 months after hatching to learn how to fly. Well, that's all for Fox 45 News at 6. Family Feud is next. We'll see you back here for the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great night.